Religion is a category that describes the beliefs and practices that people have for spiritual living or connection to the divine, God, gods, or a spiritual force. In this lecture, the question, what should we believe about other religions, is inferring that Christianity is a centrally believed worldview, with Christians questioning what we should believe about other religions. Christianity has been the dominant faith in England since the end of the 6th century, when missionaries came from Rome and Ireland to convert the rulers of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. The question we are focusing on is, should Christianity be exclusive, or can Christians accept other religions as legitimate paths in knowing God? It is important to consider this, because the more united we are, the greater peace and compassion can be established across the world. However, we are also concerned with truth, because the highest level of compassion will also discern what people should believe and how they should live their lives. In this lecture, I will outline, number 1, differing approaches and beliefs about world religions. Number 2, why it is implausible to consider all religious paths as legitimate connections to God. Number 3, the uniqueness of Jesus. So firstly, approaches to world religions. It's really important to outline a couple of key definitions. Religious pluralism means there are various religious systems and cultures existing throughout our world that can enable connection to God. Closely associated to this term is the word syncretism. Syncretism means different religions are amalgamated or merged in religious practices. Others may believe that Christianity is uniquely true, but accept the concept of universalism. This means that in the end, all people on earth will be saved and go to heaven. So before we engage in responses to world religions, I'm going to outline different beliefs that people have about world religions. The first approach is religious pluralism. This is a belief that Christians should accept that other religions are valid paths to connect with God. The second approach is naturalism. This means that all religions, including Christianity, have no supernatural basis. Rather, they have evolved naturally through the formation of societies and cultures. A third approach to world religions is the perspective of anti-realism. This means that there is no way to know which religious path would be true. This is a pessimistic perspective that means we should have epistemic humility towards this question. And that means the knowledge that we have is limited from our vantage point in the universe. Our final approach to world religions is to believe in exclusivism. That means that one religion is exclusively true. In this talk, I want to engage with options 1 and 4, religious pluralism and exclusivism, because options 2 and 3 will be developed in other lectures in this foundational series. So let's look at option 1, universalism and pluralism. Universalism is a belief that all humans will be saved in the end. Pluralists are typically universalists, but some who do believe in an exclusive religion can be universalists. Some argue that the idea of Christian leaders believing that people of other religions will be justified by God traces back to the patristic era, the early church fathers who wrote between AD 100 to the 5th century. For example, Irenaeus, who wrote between 130 to 202 AD, he was the second bishop of Lyon. As part of his theodicy and suffering, which means that you're defending God amidst the problem of evil in the world, he believed that we are born in God's image, but not his exact likeness. During our lives, we will grow into his likeness, and this process will continue into the afterlife. He wrote that we are developing at different stages, which can allow for all people to eventually reach the likeness of God. This aspect of his theodicy is argued by some modern universalists to be a helpful way of understanding how God, in the end, does save everyone. It's argued that everyone will eventually develop into God's likeness. Modern universalists could argue that a God of love will, in the end, justify everyone, as all people are developing their understanding of God. Others believe that any link of Irenaeus to universalism is erroneous, as it is only those who are in the covenant of Christ that will be saved, which is what he wrote elsewhere. In another example, it is sometimes argued that Origen, who was a North African church leader between AD 185 and 253, He believed that people of all religious worldviews would eventually be saved. So hell as a temporary destination is the location for some people. However, again, many scholars do think it is difficult to state precisely what Origen believed about universalism. So let's now look at some examples of religious pluralism. John Hick was a modern philosopher of religion who changed his mind from a Christian evangelical position to accepting religious pluralism. One of the reasons he gave for this was that people were interpreting how to follow God the best way that they can, according to their culture. He worked alongside Muslims in Birmingham, and seeing that they were genuinely trying to live by their faith persuaded him of religious pluralism. He came to believe no single religion has any epistemic or knowledge advantage over any other. This means that all doctrinal claims of all religions are false if you actually take them literally. John Dickson helps to explain this. For Professor Hick, religions were not revelations of spiritual reality. They were simply responses to that reality in a specific cultural situation. Individual religions serve as signposts to the spiritual reality rather than literal revelations. This is different to other thinkers who thought Jesus was unique but could work to an extent through other religions. For example, Henry Nouwen, who lived from 1932 to 1996, he was a Catholic priest, a writer, and a professor. He came to believe that God could work to some extent through other religions, even if Jesus is objectively special. In his book, Spiritual Direction, he writes of God leading him to see the genuine belief that Protestants had, as well as those of other religions. Despite these perspectives, I want to engage with 3 reasons why it is logically coherent to believe Christianity is uniquely true. This leads us to the second section of our lecture. How can we claim that religious truth is exclusive to Christianity? The first reason for believing that Christianity is exclusive is because sincerity of worship does not equal truth. Evangelist Michael Green outlined that as genuine as many people are in following their faith, it is still the object of their faith that needs scrutiny. Being sincere does not mean you're following the truth. Personally, I find this example really helpful. Recently, I was out running before an event that I was speaking at in Norwich. I got completely lost and had no reception on my phone. I could have kept running in the wrong direction, but then I would have been too late for where I needed to be. So I stopped and I asked some local people how I could get to my destination. Every path was not taking me to where I needed to be. By analogy, the same is true of faith. It does not make sense that you can believe in anything and that it is all truth. Relativism argues truth is subjective. You have your truth and I have my truth, and many people in Western cultures have embraced relativism. However, the reality is that we don't operate this way in any functional manner within the world. If I have a red chair, you can believe that it is blue, but the chair is red. There's a standard of reality outside of our own personal interpretation. Being sincere in your beliefs does not mean that you're corresponding to an objective truth. The second reason for believing in the exclusivity of Christianity is that the founders of world religions all pointed in different directions. For example, the development of religious paths under the umbrella of Hinduism believe that the true reality is spiritual, Brahman, a divine being that we become usurped into. To escape the illusion of the physical world, you need to escape this world and be usurped into Brahman. This is achieved through various religious practices such as yoga, meditation, and following the duties of your caste. The principle of karma, that you get what you deserve, and reincarnation, that you will be reborn into the world continuously unless you achieve perfection, underpin this religious worldview. There is a constant need to alleviate your conscience through religious practices in Hinduism. This is simply not compatible with the view that we are saved by the grace of God as Christians believe, or that we are forgiven entirely because of His love rather than because of what we deserve. In another example, we can also see the incompatibility of Christianity with the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad within the Islamic religion. Muhammad denied that Jesus was the Son of God. Muhammad claimed to be the greatest prophet who would correct the mistakes of Judaism and Christianity in recording God's revelation. He pointed to the obedience of Allah as the method of obtaining forgiveness and salvation. By observing practices such as the 5 pillars of Islam obeying the Quran, and the sayings of the Prophet in the Hadith, you can gain the favour of God. Again, this is contradictory to the Christian belief that Jesus is the Son of God and forgiveness is achieved through accepting his sacrifice. As regards the third reason, it is important to note that to have compassion for people across our world is brilliant. But this is sometimes erroneously connected to the view that Christians cannot claim an exclusive truth. The late Tim Keller explains, "The reality is every world religion makes an exclusive truth claim. Even supporters of religious pluralism are claiming an exclusive truth. They are rejecting a perspective that there is one true religious path. Pluralism is a truth claim that excludes all religious truth claims that are incompatible with it." Again, John Dickson helps to explain this further. Pluralists, on the other hand, take all the credit for their insights themselves. Through their own intellect and imagination, they have apparently discovered the macro-truth that relativizes all the religious micro-truths. Dickson is explaining that religious pluralists argue all the specific religious truth claims are false, but they are the ones that understand how religions can fit together as a reflection for grappling for a divine reality. As we can see, religious pluralism is itself a truth claim which dismisses the beliefs of others. Indeed, everyone holds an exclusive truth. So religious pluralism is not more tolerant than believing Christianity is exclusively true. So this brings us to the important question of why Jesus Christ is unique. Well, I want to go through some reasons for the uniqueness of Jesus, which are going to include, number one, through Jesus coming to earth as both fully human and divine, and through his sacrifice for us, God comes towards us. We do not perform religious duties to work our way towards him. Secondly, Jesus is the only founder of a faith that claims through his sacrifice that people are accepted and forgiven. We do nothing to earn the love of God. Out of this great acceptance, then Christians can live lives of gratitude towards God. This is a central belief of Christianity which distinguishes Jesus from other world faiths. Thirdly, Christianity is also an historically robust faith, whereby you can investigate widely the claims surrounding Jesus. For example, from a historical perspective, there are reasons to believe in the resurrection. Fourthly, Christianity makes sense of our identity. The fact that we are uniquely made in God's image allows for an individual identity that also experiences deep connection with God and the church. This resembles and corresponds with the nature of the triune God, Father, Son, and Spirit, three persons so united as one being. Fifthly, when we gaze at Jesus' character, we see what God is like. He welcomed children, women, old and young, people of every race, and he commissioned his disciples to go into the whole world to tell people about him. Perhaps, as I've stated, the most unique aspect of Jesus for me is the salvation he offers us. When I think about that, I think about a trip I was on a few years ago. I had the opportunity to travel to South Korea. I had been sightseeing there with my sister. One day we had the idea that we would do some hiking in a national park outside of Seoul called Bukhansan National Park. When we arrived at the park, there were no signs in English, but we just thought we would like to go climbing. During our hike, it was becoming increasingly steep, and we wondered, should we turn back? But we thought, no, let's just keep going. To make that progress, we had made some jumps, but then we came to the point where we became completely stuck. We couldn't move forward as it was difficult to navigate the climbs with the steel chains that were there to help you. We couldn't turn back as the jumps in the reverse did not seem manageable. We panicked, thinking that we had no way to turn. One Korean hiker ahead of us turned back when he saw that we were in trouble. He signaled to us that he would help us to make the climbs and we would follow him to the top. We had no other option, so we clung to him and he helped us to make the necessary climb. Inwardly, we were panicking because we didn't know how we were going to get down the mountain. However, at the top, he motioned for us to go down the other side, and it was then we realized that this was the side of the mountain where rookie hikers like us were supposed to climb. On that mountain, we realized what it was to be rescued and what it means to rely so heavily on another person for your safety. In Jesus Christ, He asks us to place our trust in Him. Just like the Korean climber for us that day, Jesus promises to lead us every step of the way, and that through Him we can be assured of our salvation and a deep relationship with God. So let's summarize what we've covered in this lecture. During this lecture, we have addressed various approaches that people have towards the world's religions, and we have considered some key terms for analysing this question. We have also engaged with reasons as to why some people believe in religious pluralism or universalism. Additionally, we have analysed reasons as to why it makes logical sense to claim an exclusive truth, which many evangelical Christians do. Finally, we have evaluated the uniqueness of Jesus and why He offers something completely different to the other world religions.
Hey guys, it's Charlie here from the OCCA. Thank you so much for watching our video. I hope you found it really helpful in your search for truth. We couldn't do this without your help. In fact, the many people who get behind us financially, the people who pray for this work, all the people who put their efforts into making these videos. It takes about 60 hours for every masterclass video to go through the whole of the production process. So we just want to say a big thank you to everyone. If you want to get more involved, subscribe to our videos or make a donation, please visit theocca.org.